Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew, gang, whatever you want to call yourself. You guys who listen in, there's a hearty few that like to listen in, get in there and get there, smash that like button, share it with your friends, let everybody know what's happening on the Hawaii Boss. Because, today we're going again to the core, the boss himself, Miguel Gonzalez, who's the founder of Catalyst Factor Agency, which deals in business development and all things Hawaii. So we're excited to have him on here. Miguel, what's up and welcome.
David, aloha one more time. Good to see you again, my friend. How's everything?
Things have been great. When we sat on that park bench, as this pandemic was starting to kick off in early 2020, we sat down.
Magic Island.
Yeah.
Sharing a bowl of poke.
Right. We're like, hey, I got to talk to you about something. Let's talk about this. You're in business. I'm in business. I'm over here new from the Big Island. I moved over here. I wanted to work. But how do you meet people when you're sitting in the middle of a pandemic? And so, I don't know, it was a brainchild between the both of us. I don't know. We talked and said, could we pull this off? Could we start a podcast? Everybody says, hey, I got a new podcast. What do you want? What's it about? I don't know. Yeah. But I think we kind of hit it on the head with some of the things that we started to talk about and got some interest here. And so, let's talk a little bit about some of those things that we found important when we first started and then kind of how things are going now. So, from your perspective, you may be an outsider looking in. I've been, kind of hosting and stuff, but you've been coming on and other people helping us get guests and different things that are happening. What's your perspective right now from where it was to where it is now?
It's interesting. I remember that conversation like it was yesterday.
Mm-hmm. And I can see it too. I can see it. It's in color.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh. And you might remember that we were discussing like, okay, what does the show look like? What are the guests? What's the profile of the guests?
Right.
What are the absolutes and the no-nos that we need to do for this particular show? Right. To see it and to experience it, grow and the guests that we had and the comments that we get from people.
Right.
It makes it so much worth it because of the fact that this is an honest attempt at having a dialogue, a discussion among the community. And,
right.
You've done it, you've championed it. We're in 60 plus episodes now. It's right. A situation where it's amazing. No matter what, we made it work. And
right. Even if this was all, even if this was all that it was, we started an important conversation, I think, here in Hawaii that needs to continue. I'm glad to take part of the future conversation as we continue to talk with folks. But there is so much business to do here post-pandemic and how right. this world in Hawaii is supposed to work post-pandemic. The same challenges before the pandemic are still here. I mean, let's list them off. And that's why I talk with all of our folks. Housing is a huge issue that we talk about. We want to go and we go to the bosses and find out, hey, what are you going to do with how are you going to house all your employees? We talk about businesses trying to get back up off the ground, but they can't find enough employees. And so they can't fully extend themselves into a business. What are you seeing out there when you see folks that are coming out of this pandemic? They're trying to, we've talked before that some of these guys that prepped during the pandemic were able to reposition and really drive out of the pandemic very well. But what are you seeing now as now another challenge comes up with inflation and cost of goods and things? What are you seeing?
Definitely. It's a challenging market to be honest. And, what I'm seeing is also people are preparing for what else might come. We're just getting over this pandemic, like you said, right? People had to pivot. I know business owners that 100% of their sales were done by just face-to-face contact situations. And all those people had to pivot. And some of them even had to learn how to use Instagram and Facebook because it was a tool that they never needed before.
Right.
And all of a sudden it became the most important tool to keep their business alive.
Right. Yeah. Those kind of things like that. Good companies had to really got their team together and said, what in the heck are we going to do? Are we just going to die? Or are we going to fight through this?
Right. Well, a case and sample for this is Hawaiian Host. I just learned recently that their CEO, who you'd had in this on the podcast himself, Ed, he's actually been honored by PBN as as the business leader of the year for 2022.
Okay.
Because of his work, he came in right at the pandemic when things were starting out and the tourism dried out, which was, as you know, an important segment to Hawaiian hosts sales.
Right.
And when they had all this extra packaging, extra chocolate overhead, they had to think quick.
They had to get it moving. They had to get it moving because also supply chain issues were happening, and they were just. I remember him telling me, he's the candy man, it's actually production. It's like wholesale production. You're in an industry where you're trying to produce, manufacturing almost with food, and right. So it was a real challenge for him. I remember.
It was a real challenge, and kudos to them too, because what they did in the community too, that all that leftover or that extra chocolate that never sold because of the fact that tourists never came,
right,
was donated among community, high schools, Croc Center. I mean, I took part in that effort as well. And
I didn't get on that list. Hey, when there's free chocolate, I got to get on that list.
We got to get you in that list. We got to get you in that list. We were thinking about those people that we might need a little bit more, but yeah, we'll definitely make sure we have some extra for you next time.
Okay,
sure.
next time.
Yeah. But, the way that some of these businesses pivot, some of them started offering different products. Some of them started just 100% sales online. I know of some restaurant owners who to this day are only taking online orders because they found a better business model for their particular operation.
Sure. Yeah. There's a lot of efficiencies. They found out, wow, customers can still get what they want faster and, on time instead of having to come here to a location. I think that freed up the whole world, realizing that they can do a lot of things where they used to have to go down and I wish they could figure that out for the DMV.
Right. Well, that would you and I, we think alike. But I agree with you. It's a situation where people had to be fast on their feet. And they had to really create a situation where their business was going to be sustainable. And here we are with all these different models, because here before the pandemic, we thought it was either black or white, right? Mm-hmm. Case in point is also working from home, that many people were just completely against it. But then during the pandemic, there was no option. And a lot of these companies actually end up changing their mentality as to what the policy on working from home or allowing employees to maybe mix it up a little bit, a couple of days in the office, a couple of days working from home.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I think, flexibility there, and they're finding that they're going to need to have that, because once those folks had a taste of that, you're finding these large companies having a hard time bringing them back in, like, hey, I'm able to accomplish, I think, the same amount of work I was able to do. I have some more flexibility in my life. This is kind of the thing. And I think you're going to see that a little bit more. And we'll be probing this with the leaders out there in Hawaii. What is it that this new group of, it's not millennials anymore. It's the Z generation and the different, even younger ones that are coming. I'm getting sold. I can't even remember all the
I can't
generations that are coming out now. And these guys know by hey, these guys are like 5 years, and the kids, my kids are like, hey, no, that's not what that is. And so they define all this stuff and they have fun with it. But we have to look at that. I was talking to my 21-year-old daughter, Ginger, and she said, there's so much expected of us. And this is maybe an idea or a concept into their brain is we are expected to do so much and know how to do so much stuff, all the email and stuff that we never knew how to do, and pay, and cell phones and connect, and like, hey, I need a response right now and all this. And she said, sometimes we have to already expect so much of us. Sometimes we just don't want to give it. We don't want to give more,
right?
Because, listen, it's expected of us every day and everything. And this pace isn't what you guys grew up with. Why are you expecting it from us?
That's pretty fair if you think about it, right? I mean, you're right. I mean, I didn't grow up with that. I didn't grow up with, waking up and having 100 emails that I have to respond to on that, man. So 98% of them is bad news because people wait to tell me the good news in person,
I'm telling you, and I've had to learn, you don't turn on that email until about 7:30 when you're ready to start dealing with it. Because for me, anyway, if I hit that too early, I'm like, oh, I'm not ready. I don't have the energy, like, the rally. I'm not generated enough energy enough for that to hit me yet. So and that's why we go to these boss's office too, to find out, hey, how do you manage all this stuff? We want leaders. We want to find out from leaders, like, hey, how do you keep all this together? Because it starts to get more complex as you're a business owner with more people, more things going in and out. So we're looking for people to help us to sort of how to do life as a boss.
Right. And then, there's great lessons from different people, right? Because a lot of these folks, a lot of these leaders, they don't get there by accident. They
Right.
get there because they create and cultivate good habits.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean also maybe like, I like to go for a run in the morning, or I like to maybe do jujitsu in the morning, something that will wake
Right.
me up and get me going, because then from there, that I use that energy for the rest of my day.
Yeah, you have to, and that's a part, I think, as a leader and as a boss, that you have to kind of figure out what your energy, how you manage your energy. And that's a whole new concept that I really didn't even think about as I got into Hawaii Boss, that, these leaders out there, they really have to, you laugh when you see these memes out there where someone's like, yeah, big celebration if they like make their bed, for the day.
Yeah.
But just as for fun, but really, the complexities that maybe someone like a governor or how should I say, Lieutenant Governor Green, that maybe he's in the running for governor and has a pretty good chance.
Right.
Folks like him, or Hilton Rathall, head of the entire healthcare association for Hawaii, the complexities that go along with these large organizations. How do they do it, and how can we trust? Again, this is a challenge right as we're moving into this election year, where we try not to stay, be political and things like that. But when we start to see these types of leaders, these are the ones that are representing our voice in business. So we should, I guess, have some say, or at least get some feedback from them on what they expect. Mayor Blangiardi, they have, real pro-business group there. So that's what we're looking to see is the pandemic is now endemic, and now we're trying to move into now, how do we face this inflation? How do we face the barriers of staffing? How do we, all the housing, all of these things that burden us, and so I'm hopeful we can get some answers from these folks, because it's complicated.
Right. I think it's exciting too, though. It's complicated, but it's exciting because you mentioned a couple of names that at this particular time we need in the city and the state. Rick Blangiardi, you mentioned Josh Green, even Hilton, what he's doing with the standpoint of healthcare. He's been doing a magnificent job in leading that.
Right.
That from the very beginning of the pandemic, and keeping people informed as to what the next step is. So, it's a good situation. I look forward to the future because of the fact that we have these leaders who are engaged, who understand that we need to care about Joe Sixpack out there, because if not, Joe Sixpack won't be able to have a business and won't be able to create those extra jobs for other people who need that, who have families. So it's a trickle down effect that involves all of us. And for leaders to come in and say, we're going to cut the red tape. We're going to make it simpler for people to apply for permits, for applications, for to see us face to face. And that's the part that I'm encouraged by, because it's a change in mentality at the municipal and state level.
Yes, because again, the frustration for many businesses as they try to do work and live in Hawaii is that the slow grind of the bureaucracy that sometimes is in those county offices, those state offices, that you can't really penetrate. It's difficult. And if you try to a little bit too hard, you might get a little pushback that you don't necessarily like. But I see that across the islands now. Hawaii had some problems with all their housing and building permitting and stuff like that. So now they have a big slew of new, folks who are inspecting and approving those and reviewing those. Yes. And I think Maui's got Kauai is the same. They're looking for those folks. I think they want to do business, but it is difficult to have someone with the skills and expertise, especially to know all the special needs that building and developing in Hawaii means, because it's not just simple. It's not like, hey, I got my piece of land in Merced, California here, right. This is Hawaii, and it has expectations and sort of, that there's it just doesn't, it's not as easy as just showing them the money.
Yeah. And it's also a matter of efficiency, because a lot of these projects, when you're putting in any different permits, it takes time. And sometimes you can cut that by 50%. So really it's being efficient and looking at the entire system. And just because of the fact that you've been using that system, it doesn't mean that it's perfect.
Right.
So looking at it with a creative or a critique eye of it, to really figure out what is the best way to just streamline things.
And it helps to have some information on the inside, because really folks, if they're trying to come over from the mainland and they may have some connections in that, I've been here or I've visited a lot, but then trying to do business as a professional becomes a whole different thing. Let's talk about your business, and we'll talk about more about sort of your, your jujitsu and some of the things that you've been doing as I think a model for leadership and health in Hawaii for us. But this, the different businesses that are out there and looking for guidance, what does your business do in that aspect during these sort of challenging times or coming out of it? How do you help?
Sure. We advise as a public relations and marketing company, it's beyond working with media. It's beyond writing a press release. We advise our clients on particular relationships that they can forge within local governments. We have history working with elected officials and continuously work in public not-for-profit ventures as well to kind of just benefit the community. So, we offer a lot of guidance when it comes to whether it's a new business coming from the mainland or an existing business here looking to maybe get more in touch with the legislature, maybe get more in touch with City Hall, working with council members and the mayor to maybe advance a couple of champion their causes as well. It's those introductions that we work with. We also introduce our clients to other nonprofits. I'm working with a particular client right now that we are making an introduction to the Hawaii Carpenters Union because of the fact that they're a powerful union that can work well with our clients. So it's just always looking out to figure out exactly how can we put the client on the best light. Whether it's in the media, whether it's with elected officials or the public as a whole.
Yeah, right. Because the first impression is everything here, and if you come flashy, hey, I'm here to win the day, and not really seeing other people out there that you're going to have to develop relationships with, sometimes you find yourself alone.
Yeah, exactly right, David. And it's also magnified here in Hawaii, because if you come in like you were saying, flashy, if you come in making a lot of noise about yourself or doing something like that may not necessarily be accepted here. We live in a place where it's more of the aloha spirit. We don't like to rush people because that's not like the aloha spirit is. That's more of a mainland attitude. So I think what I really prepared my clients to do is to collaborate, to take part in dialogues, not to decree things, not to impose the law. It's more of a situation where we're looking for partnerships to always figure out how else we can work with the community to benefit nonprofits, community groups, and just overall those who need it the most.
That's right. With different companies that have come on, they've created digital formats where they're engaging in the community for developing those relationships, but also connections with the land, like Mana Up, for example.
Right.
That was one of the guests that we had on here, and it's a digital format, but it also provides a way for folks to be able to go in and find a way that they can donate, because some of the proceeds that Mana Up provides or gives to charity and different things, you can have a selection of where you want that money to go. So there's some real awesome ways I think companies are trying to do that in Hawaii and give back. That's sort of the expectation that there is a little give back. First, you got to do it with you got to figure out what aloha means and how your company fits into that. But again, it has to mesh. It has to become a part of the fabric of Hawaii. It can't be independent.
Exactly. It's organic. It's organic partnerships, and that's exactly what we're always looking for. Those working with organizations that are already out there helping people. Like another example of it is Blue Zones, which is an organization that works all around the communities to improve communities, giving them options of healthy options, getting food vendors to maybe put on farmers markets so people have access to fresh vegetables that perhaps are not brought in from the mainland, but that have less additives or less just chemicals added to it. So it's just healthy living that they're encouraging. And situations like that, I mean, my wife has worked with them in the past by doing workout classes where families can learn how to work out together, so they can if they go out for a walk together, it kind of changes the perspective, kind of keeping that healthy factor as well, because that gets passed on from parents to the younger generation. So it's something that we all want to take part on. So no matter what it is, David, whether it's healthy, a healthy initiative, feeding those who need it the most, or helping people gain entrance into a home of their own. There are different projects out there in Hawaii, and those are the ones that I like to identify with, because there's just that common cause in there.
Well, that brings us to a very special folks that we've recently, and for me recently, got to know, but the folks from Keikoa Collective, which is sort of an exciting announcement that we have related to us going to a live podcast studio that they've graciously allowed to partner with us to be able to provide some guests a place to go to, and we have a little bit more natural interaction, even though the Zooms have been great. But I think people are ready to get out and talk face to face, and you get a little bit more when you see people right there in the room, and get a little bit better vibe for what's happening. So we're excited about that potential. Tell us a little bit about your the Keikoa Collective and what's going on.
Well, Keikoa Collective itself it's a brand. It's a lifestyle and jiu-jitsu brand. And so Dewey Doan is one of the owners over there at Keikoa Collective. And, I've known Dewey for years and through jiu-jitsu, but we've also had very many meaningful conversations about life overall. He's one of those guys that he's just looking to do good around the world.
That's part of his thing is through jiu-jitsu, basically saving the world through jiu-jitsu.
It really is.
Yeah.
And, he creates so many friendships, and he's just a guy who wants to see people do well. It's the best way that I could describe him.
Right.
He, through his brand, he doesn't make noise about this too much, but he goes and he will sponsor kids who perhaps don't have the means. Jiu-jitsu can be an expensive sport.
Right.
Don't have the means to perhaps buy their first gi, which obviously prevents them from taking their first class. And I've known Dewey to give out gear and pass out different things without ever expecting anything. And that's him. That's what the brand is all about.
Sure.
But it's also created a great relationship within the community, because the community here in Hawaii has recognized that this brand is a brand for good, and they want to support brands like that. So
especially local brands, it's tough for, again, when the business dollars go away to somewhere else,
It really is. But, I have an example of something that's actually the opposite of that. We were recently at Jiu-Jitsu Worlds in Las Vegas.
Right. Now we can tell a whole story about it. We show some video of you, this monster guy you were wrestling. Oh my gosh, you must have been 3 times your size. But anyway, you were going to say.
So we were at Jiu-Jitsu Worlds, and I was competing, and Keikoa Collective had a booth there. And I kid you not, David, that booth, you could tell anywhere around we're at the convention center in Las Vegas. It's a huge place, but you could tell exactly where Keikoa Collective was, because that gathering, how many people were in that booth daily, it was just amazing to see how much people were just so interested in the brand. They wanted to discover more about the brand. And it also became kind of the meetup point for all Hawaii guys that were competing. Oh, just meet me at Keikoa Collective, because everybody knew where that was. Right. And you got there and you see all the Hawaii guys from different studios of jiu-jitsu. But from young kids to older gentlemen and ladies who are out there.
What is the draw of jiu-jitsu? Sort of an aside here, but it sounds like it's a health thing. I mean, the Coca, it's building the whole thing around it. But what is it for you that that keeps sparking you and keeping you in it?
I think it's that as I advance more in it, it gets more difficult.
So you're becoming like a chess master, but you're seeing that there's more that you could learn and do,
or more attacks that I need to learn in order to stay. So there's it gets more refined. The more you advance, the more each belt that you get. It's you have to worry about different things, and I like the hard part of it. I like the difficulty level of it, because it's a constant situation where you're thinking. You
have to put it all out there.
Right.
It's not just about strength, though.
No, it's not. In fact, you don't want it to be about strength, because if you make it about strength, your efficiency's gone.
Right.
It's you want it to be a chess match. It's a human chess match. And the better jiu-jitsu player is the one who continues to make those moves ahead of reality. they're already playing the moves in their head with an end game, maybe 2 or 3 moves away.
So it's a good model for business. We have to do the same thing. We have to be light on our feet, not use too much energy for the wrong thing, and then we waste all of the our resources on one thing, and it doesn't pan out, and then then we get hit with something else. But it's an efficiency that you're looking for. It's a steady flow. It's a movement where you've always got that energy in reserve waiting for it. And so anyway, I'm excited for you and for the Keikoa Collective and to tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited about that. One more thing that I would add about that is also like business in jiu-jitsu is timing.
Mm-hmm.
Timing is so important for both, whether you're in business or you're in jiu-jitsu, whether you're debuting a new line from your brand, a new service, a new product that you're putting together, or just a new move. It's so important to create that timing. So so we're grateful to Keikoa Collective. We're grateful to Dewey for this partnership, this opportunity. We look forward to getting into those studios and welcoming everybody. I think it's going to be a nice added bonus to have those face-to-face conversations, David, because like you said, Zoom is great, but again, I'm not seeing you eye to eye. I
can't give you a high five. I can't give you the hey, come on in, let's there.
Right.
We miss that, all the aloha,
exactly.
Right.
So I think it's going to be great. I think you're going to expect a Hawaii Boss podcast that is even going to be more dynamic because of the fact that you're going to create these relationships and you're going to have that back and forth banter. And, the show itself, although it's a business podcast, the show is very fun and it can be as fun as our guests want it to be.
Right.
Because we'll come along, and I know you like to have fun, and this what makes for good content for sure.
Yeah, no, we're excited to hear, because it is challenging and they've got to have some humor on the way to deal with some of the pressures and stuff. Yeah, a good boss has a good sense of humor. You got to know that, but there's all kinds out there, and hopefully again, we love to expose ourselves to folks in the way they do it because there's something that we can learn there. And that's why we're expanding out. Oahu's great. That's where you find most of the folks. We've been able to get via Zoom out to Kauai, over to Maui, Big Island. We want to see all the businesses that are happening there. Oahu likes to get all the attention sometimes. So we're looking for spots out there to do our, what we call them, sort of rogue podcasting. We're going to go over there and find out where they like to do their work and the things, because there is differences. And some of them aren't subtle. Some of them are real material, like differences, how the logistics of doing things and how easy is it to get your supplies. Again, people is another thing. Hilo side, you might have more people than the Kona side for workers and different stuff that's happening. So we want to get out there and really get the pulse of what's happening on the ground. So we're excited to find some studios out there to meet with some folks and have that same camaraderie, but also bring in some folks who are just leaders nationally or internationally. We've had some, the chief joy officer, Patrice Tanaka, is on.
Oh yes, Patrice was great.
Yeah, she's from Hawaii, but she found a way to after post 9/11 really find a different way to make a living and live your life based on your purpose, your core purpose. And so we're going to invite folks in like that have special leadership skills, special knowledge of business in general, maybe different ways on HR things, stuff like that. Bring folks in and help resource our small community. But again, if they want to come in, they have to play along a little bit, but certainly we'd like to inform them and also have them inform us of some of the things because sometimes Hawaii is, would you say, a little bit behind the times?
I think Hawaii itself, because of the fact that we're just in the middle of the ocean, right? Maybe sometimes we're a bit sheltered from different things, but I don't necessarily. I used to, when I first came from the mainland, I used to see that as a hindrance, but not so much anymore. I mean, it's a situation where that's Hawaii. That's you can expect that from different things. And I'm also excited about the new wave of leadership here in the islands. You mentioned not just Oahu, but also our neighbor islands, which each one of them offers something very special, and each one of them has their own touch and essence. And that excites me as well, because I know that not only for this podcast, but for the future of Hawaii, I think we're in good hands, where we have some really, really smart leaders out there who are looking to change things, who are looking to to do things better for the next generation, and that in itself is rewarding and also uplifting.
Yeah, that's what our goal is, to find people who want to keep Hawaii, yeah. And not make it little LA or whatever.
Right, exactly. I mean, none of us want that. None of us, if it was that, then we would have stayed in LA, right?
Right.
So it's a situation where we just love it, and it's up to us to really come in and adjust to whatever else is happening around, because we want to live here, right? This is exactly what we want to do.
And that's the big thing, is that, around all of this and kind of this is our place. This is home.
Yeah.
This is where we live.
Yeah.
And so we have expectations of again, people come, they eat, they leave. That's not what we want. We want, come, share, add to,
learn, contribute.
Learn. Yeah. It's a different mentality than, come grab yours and then leave. You just can't, it doesn't work in Hawaii.
It doesn't. And it's a culture that I think you see even more highlighted now after the pandemic, because of the fact that, as soon as people were allowed to travel, a lot of people wanted to just get out because they were behind closed doors for 2 years. And Hawaii definitely became a destination for that. We went from having maybe hundreds of people to about 30,000 arrivals at the airport in a matter of weeks. And you could tell there was definitely a strain in the island. And it also created an opinion with locals as to why are all these visitors good?
That's a question I don't hear as much anymore. It used to be like, hey, because Maui got just blasted. They couldn't even move. Their cars weren't moving. They didn't have enough houses. Like, hey, stop coming. So there has to be a balance. There's sort of this. There has to be a balance of resources that are here, and it can't be. And that's what we hope to find, is how do we keep aloha and progress in the business, but take into consideration the people, the land, and the real Hawaii that I think we all want to keep and continue to develop. So
I think it's a conversation, David. I agree with you. It's a conversation that needs to continue to happen, right? Mm-hmm. We all understand that tourism is important, and it's the number one industry here in Hawaii. And until we don't do anything else to change that, to bring in other industries and motivate and encourage that, then this is something that we can't just all of a sudden say, well, we got to stop. Let's let the visitors stop and just tell them to go somewhere else. It's not as easy as that,
Oh, yeah.
So
it's a balance. We have to strike a balance. So again, we want to get the smart people in the room here. We're going to go to their office, wherever that's at. We're gonna ask them the important questions and ask for intelligent, thoughtful responses, and so that we can sort of gather this information together and say, hey, that's a smart idea, or nah, that won't work, or if not, let's hooey and talk about it a little bit. So I think there's great opportunities with Hawaii Boss. I appreciate your continuing to come on, and
thank you.
Sort of, Miguel hears what's going on the ground out there, so it's important to know. But again, we've both learned so much from developing this, and him producing this with all of his resources, and also just bringing this important message, I think, to the Hawaii people. I'm glad to be the boss. Go to the boss's office. I'm glad to host this and just share, what little bit I know. I just like to talk, so I guess that's where I'm at. But I'm great. I want to talk with these people that are smart and that they have some answers, and I'm looking forward to it, Miguel. And I hope you keep coming back on.
Definitely, David. Thank you so much for everything you've done, and congratulations on getting to this point. And it's a big, I think, how many people can put out 60 plus episodes
we can do a whole nother episode of how difficult that year was, and trying to figure out how to do it, and really murdering some podcasts and some different things. But we learned through our mistakes. So thanks everybody who was on before, and we want a special invitation for all of you guys who were on before, all 69 episodes. Come on down to our new live space on Fridays, Aloha Fridays. We're going to be hanging out and doing some live podcasts. So again, that's an invitation to all you, and all of you out there who want to get on the Hawaii Boss podcast. Just email us at thehawaiiboss@gmail.com. That's thehawaiiboss@gmail.com. And you can find out about any of our guests. We can get, contact with you, their business, different things. So we just love to be a hub and a network for the folks here who want to do it right in Hawaii. And Miguel, you're one of those folks, and look forward to keep going.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it. Look forward to Hawaii Boss continue for many, many years to come.
All right. Until next time, my brother. Aloha.
All right. Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.